Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking to you about fighting lack of sleep, tips to push through fatigue. I recently added a new member to my family and he has been a sight to behold. But lurking within the miracle of joy has been the countless hours of lost sleep. Both my wife and I had to endure lack of sleep over the past couple of months. We have both been fighting lack of sleep, but for someone who likes 7 to 8 hours each night, it has been especially hard for me. Because before my child came along, I used to love to optimize my sleep and get the best rest possible during the night. But unfortunately, these don't really work when there's a newborn yelling and screaming in the door next to you. So fighting lack of sleep and fatigue has been what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks and months. Because we all have times in our lives when we're tired and down in the dumps, but we still need to get something done. These tips are really for short bursts to get you through that couple of weeks or months, but not for the long term. These hacks are no way a replacement for a good night's rest consistently. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, my tips to push through lack of sleep, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content. And let's go. Since the birth of my child, I've reduced my nightly sleep by at least 2 to 3 hours each night. And the sleep that I am getting is broken up into multiple segments throughout the night. This had an immediate effect to me from the night that my child was born, and I can describe it as brain drag, where I can feel my reaction time and my thoughts move slower in general. And it's really unpleasant to feel day in and day out for weeks on end. Although I've been taking naps to compensate during the day, there's still no alternative for that missing night's sleep. But alas, there's no way to actually fix it, so I have to figure out a way to move forward and deal with the fatigue. And usually when I feel fatigued, I would take more downtime and use that time to sleep or regenerate, but due to having a child, my workload has only increased. So I need to push through that fatigue with tips and hacks. Although these tips can help you fight fatigue, only use them for the short term. Because when you do it for the long term, you'll end up crashing and burning out. And habitual fatigue over a long period of time can be very dangerous to your health if you're not getting that proper rest. So these tips are there to help you through that day or a couple of weeks' time. Here are my tips to help you push through fatigue. Number 1, question the why. Before you start on the journey of tiring yourself out, or in the midst of tiring yourself out, ask the question, why are you doing it in the first place? Ask yourself, is it really worth it to tire yourself out and push yourself for this thing? Like all things that you end up doing, don't blindly just do something. Ask and critique yourself if what you're doing is really worth it to you and your goals in life. And whether or not you ultimately need to expend the energy on that particular thing. Most of the things that we do on a daily basis isn't worth expending the energy and fatiguing us, and that it's not urgent and it can be pushed off to another day when you're more rested. In my circumstance, I knew that starting a family was worth me not getting enough sleep at night. Although a child is a lot of time and commitment, it is worth it in the long run. And the kicker was the lack of sleep isn't a temporary thing. It can go on for possibly years. But I did ask myself and question the why behind having a child and losing that sleep. So when I'm tasked with something that affects my sleep, I really ask the question, is it worth it to me to do so? Why am I doing it? Can it be pushed off? And is it worth losing sleep over this? So hopefully with those questions in mind, you'll be able to avoid fighting lack of sleep in the first place. Number 2, strategize your sleep schedule. If you need to fight fatigue and it's going to be more than a day, then you're going to have to find places within your schedule that you can take a nap. This is especially helpful in the short term where you're going to be fighting lack of sleep for a week or 2 or maybe even a month. Find periods of time where you're not working day or night to schedule in that sleep and plan for it. For example, sleeping in the parking lot before or after or during your shift. Or if your partner is switching off watching your child, then find that 3 hours of sleep and then take it. This isn't the best sleep that you're ever going to get, but it's going to be a triaging sleep for you. And over the length of a couple of days, your body will be able to adjust to that schedule if you can keep it firm, and then you'll be less fatigued overall. As for our circumstances, I take the night shift and my wife has the morning shift. And depending on the day, we might shift our schedules 3 hours in the past or future for our shifts to start, and ultimately help us to stay sane in this chaotic period of time. And so I would just write down all the hours you have in a day in a weekly chart and make sure that you have scheduled periods of rest and work. The key is to get your body habituated so you have some rest at a set period during that time so you can adapt to that change readily. And you'll be able to suffer less fatigue because you have that set schedule. So even when we have a lot of demands on our body, we have to schedule in sleep whenever we can. Create a schedule, plan it, and stick to it. Number 3, naps on tap. Naps are absolutely amazing, and I recommend anybody who's tired to take one right now. It is a great way to get your energy back and help you bounce back from a tiring workday. I use naps consistently throughout my adult life to get back the energy I lost during the day. Naps are especially good within that 30-minute to an hour period of time. Any more time than that, when you wake up, you'll feel very drowsy and it'll be harder for you to get back into the work environment. I'll link some articles down in the description box below on the benefits of napping. But many studies have shown that effective naps are taken in the early afternoon after your noontime meal. When my child was born, I had to start taking more naps frequently throughout the day. It absolutely helped me to catch my energy back after a very tiring night soothing the baby. And before the child came along, I would take naps to help me through the stress of the day and to catch up on sleep from the lack of it the night before. My advice for you on taking naps is to find the most optimum conditions for you to sleep, because not everyone can fall asleep immediately while taking a nap. For example, if you need a cool dark room to sleep in, or if you need earplugs and eye masks to sleep. Make sure you know what gets you in the mood to sleep and then bring those things with you whenever you want to take a nap. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if naps are characterized as something only children or babies do. If you need it, then take it. It's certainly been more effective for me to get sleep whenever I can through naps. And it'll help you fight the fatigue if you really need to get something done right away. Number 4, prioritize your efforts. If there's one thing I've learned about sleep deprivation and pushing through fatigue, is that you gotta prioritize your work efforts. And only focus on the few limited important things that you must do and then go get your rest. Things that you just have to prioritize and get through doing before you do anything else. What I mean by this is don't skip out on the core functions of your body, like sleeping, eating, or going to the bathroom. Things that you can hold off on doing at least for the short term, like brushing your teeth, seeing your friends, or exercising. It may not be ideal to work with sticky breath, but when you're fighting through fatigue, you have to prioritize things. This means that the time saved in not doing those things can go to more important things that you need to get finished. For me during this time, I didn't really keep up appearances, I ate poorly, and I didn't really focus on my hygiene. I've reduced a lot of things focused on my self-care as well. Video games, walking in the park, and also eating well. All the things that I love doing routinely, but I'm not in the short term to help me fight through fatigue and save on that time. So take a look at the things that you can cut out, at least for a little while in your life if you're trying to push through fatigue. That time saved can be going to your work or napping. Because when the time gets tight, you need to save that time and allocate it to something else that's more worthy. Number 5, limit energy boosters. I'm not really a fan of anything that tells you that it'll boost your energy at least for the short term. The only exception is coffee in the morning for me. Because at the end of the day, you'll crash after using that energy booster and you'll have to use more and you'll get addicted to it. You need to essentially maintain that high of whatever that energy booster is giving you. What I'm really focusing on is the 5-hour energy drinks or sugary foods. Anything that gives you a sugary high or intense stimulation for that period of time is something to avoid. Because for me, that crash is worse than the intense high I feel for only a couple of hours. And over a long period of time, if you consume those things, it'll wreck your body and your metabolism. Because I rather focus on core mechanisms of our body, which is sleep. If I'm feeling fatigued and tired, I'm just gonna go to sleep rather than take an energy drink and then come back later to work. During the first few weeks of having a baby, I only drank coffee without sugar. This was okay because I was already used to the caffeine even before the baby came along. I know exactly the amount of energy I'm gonna get during the day with my usual cup of coffee. And I don't have peaks or valleys in my energy level throughout the day by randomly injecting energy drinks. This helps me keep my body on schedule, so when I get tired, I schedule in a nap and sleep. So avoid energy boosters to help you fight fatigue. Your body will thank you for it in the long term. So here are my general thoughts on fighting through fatigue. I think that the biggest thing that I didn't mention about pushing through lack of sleep is that it's really not fun. It's not fun to go throughout your day with a huge brain fog and everything is slowed down when you do it. As someone who realized this and created ways to optimize my sleep, this was a hard challenge for me to tackle. I don't think I can make it fun, but I can at least make it tolerable for myself. And even though these tips have helped me to fight through a lack of sleep, there is no such thing as a replacement for a good night's rest. And as the kid gets a little older, I might have to go with less sleep than I do now. And I don't think it'll be possible to get back to my old routine until a long time from now. I think that in the long run, I'll just have to adapt to this new sleep schedule for me and my wife. And find better ways to optimize my sleep whenever I am getting sleep. Because in the past, I had it good and I didn't realize it until now. So those are my tips on helping you to fight through lack of sleep. We all have times in our lives where we need to pull extra hours out of our day, and it's gonna come at the cost of us sleeping better. Sleep has always been the last thing that we give ourselves ample time for. because it's hard to really prioritize an activity that we're not really productive, even though it is essential to our bodily functions and our normal health. As I recently found out with a new member of my family that sleep is going to be harder and harder to come by in the next couple of months and perhaps even a couple of years. And that there's going to be so much more new demand on my time than ever before. So now it's more important than ever before to optimize my sleep and figure out ways to fight through that fatigue whenever I need to, and ultimately getting the best experience I can through this period of my life. And although these tips are not a substitute for a good night's rest, it can help you, at least for the short term, to fight through that tiredness. And in a pinch, these can help you get through those couple of weeks and months. So I hope you can take away something from my experiences in dealing with fatigue. So thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment down below on what are your experiences fighting through fatigue and what are your tips on combating that. And I'll see you next time.